It is Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, along for the ride as well, as we are T-minus 3 days until our first ever live edition of Baseball Today, coming your way from Boomtown Brewery in downtown Los Angeles. Just a few tickets left for general admission, so go get them. Oh, my God. I had the audio on my computer as I was listening and watching the chat, so it kind of threw me off there. Anyway, go get them at shop.johnboymedia.com. So we're very excited for that. How are you?
I'm doing great. See you, Rosie. Got to watch some good baseball yesterday. I, too, am excited about this Friday. I talked to a bunch of my buddies who are going to come down as well. So not only am I going to get to mingle with, the fans of our show, whether that be Dodgers fans, Padres fans, or just baseball fans in general, but I get to do my job in front of some of my friends. And I don't know why, but I think that's cool.
That is cool. I wish I had friends. I would invite them too, but I don't. So.
I'm your friend, Chris.
You are my friend. And the John Boy Media community is my collective friend. So we are looking forward to seeing you all down there. We cannot wait. We start off with the tip of the cap. Of course, Monday was the 50th anniversary of the setting of what is, in my opinion, the greatest sports record of all time and most important sports record. That, of course, number 715 by Hammer and Hank Aaron. And then last night, we got to see his great-grandson throw out the first pitch. A little one-hopper. I'm not bothered by that. I love the old-school unis that they were wearing back in that day in 1974. How about his name? Did you catch his name?
I did not.
King Aaron.
I like that. I like that.
How awesome.
Our buddy Ollie, his son's name is Kingston, so...
I love that. That was really cool.
Put it on him a little bit there. A lot of expectations now. And I like the form. I know the ball didn't make it all the way to the plate, but that's good form right there.
Yeah, and he got up on the mound, too. The only problem I've got with the whole thing, was that the bat boy catching the – I mean, can we get Acuna? Can we get Matt Olson? Can we get somebody out there to catch the first pitch from the great-grandson of the legendary Hammer and Hank?
Bat boys matter, too, Chris, all right?
Yes, they do.
I'm sure that's a great bat boy right there. Maybe he's the best bat boy in the league. You don't know.
He's not going to outdo the ball dudes out in San Francisco. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not picking on the kid. I'm just saying you understand what I'm getting at here, right?
Ooh, we should rank bat boys because the kids on the foul line of Tampa making those plays, did you see that?
Yes.
Dude.
Yeah, that kid.
Maybe we'll do that.
Afterward. Yeah, you're right. All right, a lot to get to. We're going to start with the reason that I am donning the Padres cap. In fact, I had put the show to bed, but I was watching the Padres game in part because our oldest son, Josh, was working as the AD last night on the broadcast. So I always like checking out and seeing how his work's going. And all of a sudden, it was 8-0. I was like, oh, my God, what a terrible game. And then all of a sudden, it got 8-4, and then it got interesting. And then it became this.
High drive, deep left field. At the wall, gone! Padres trailed 8-0. Hernando makes it 9-8. Unbelievable.
Anyway, Don Orsil, it was indeed unbelievable. A huge comeback down 8-0 going into the sixth. Padres a winner in this one. So for Fernando Tatis, how big a year is it for him personally?
I think it is a really big year for him, Chris. I know, we go back to 2022, where, he misses the entire year, partly because of injury, mostly because of a PED suspension, comes back from that PED suspension, has a down year offensively, but does win a platinum glove. I don't think we need to overlook that at all. Like a new position just wins the Platty out of nowhere. But what I'll say is this, and this is just coming from my mind, and I'm curious to see what Padres fans think and National Baseball fans as well. There's only one way to get rid of like the stink of a PED suspension, and that's to go be the player that you were before the PED suspension, to go put up these numbers and for him to go be essentially, he's like the most exciting player in baseball. I like when he's right. I don't think that's like far fetched to say. I know Shohei has maybe the most talented overall baseball player, but as far as like most exciting baseball player, I think it is Fernando Tatis Jr. Like when things are going right. So for me, that's what I'm looking for. I want to see him get back to the pre-2022 numbers, and right now he's pretty much like right on line with his career numbers. A week or so through the season. But I think it's important for him and his legacy to get back to being that offensive player that he was before the suspension. I think in a lot of people's minds, that'll lessen the blow a little bit. I love watching this guy play. I think that he does everything kind of the right way on the field when things are going right. He hustles. He's got incredible defense. The offensive talent is just off the charts as well. So I think it's an important year for him because, one, down year last year, they missed the playoffs in a really a year that they kind of were all in. So now they go out and they get Cease, and they're kind of back in that playoff mode, and he's got to be the guy. If he's not the guy, I can see them finishing outside of the playoffs again. So yes, it's a big year for a couple different reasons, namely because I think he needs to put that PED suspension behind him. And the only way to do that is to go out and perform like you were performing before the suspension.
Do you think will you ever look at Fernando Tatis Jr. and say, and have something other than the PED be like one of the first 2 or 3 things you think about?
Yeah, like he's got to go put years of that type of play on the back of his baseball card. That's the way you do it, Chris.
Yeah.
Look at here's a comparison, and they're different things. But like the Houston Astros, to me, if they after 2017 or 19 were just horrible and didn't win any baseball games, and a lot of the players went backwards in their statistics, I think we would look at it way differently. I've like almost washed them clean of it because of what they've done after. Do you know what I mean? Like they've had so much success and continued success as an organization. I don't see them as the 2017 Astros, the way I did the first couple of years after it. They've had way too much success for me to keep thinking about them that way. So I think if Fernando goes out and, like I said, puts up those numbers like he did before, eventually we'll get to that point.
It's weird. I love Tatis. I just do. I think he's so exciting. I do love the way he plays. I feel like I get his best effort every night when I watch him just as a fan. And I don't have any reason to like the Padres or cheer for the Padres for the most part. I just don't. Was I disappointed when it happened? Yeah, I was disappointed in what it did to the teammates and the city and things of that nature. But I think once you've served your penalty with a PED suspension, with a decision that can be selfish, but is really, it is harmful to your team because you're not available. But when we're talking about the grand scheme of life and what it does it set a poor example for kids? Yes, it does. But that's on parents to explain. It's not on Fernando Tatis Jr. to raise your kids and stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, where people have been suspended or penalized or punished, I don't find it to be that big a deal. Maybe I'm wrong here. I don't like it. I'm not saying I condone it. I'm not saying I like it. But I think I'm able to get past it once the penalty is served.
It depends. I don't know, man. It still chaps me a little bit because of, I feel like everyone should have a fair shot in the big leagues. And if you're having a performance enhancing product in your body, like you're not giving everyone a fair shot.
I get that. I'm not saying that it's okay to take it. What I'm saying is once the penalty is served, you've been penalized for that. Now, there are other penalties that I cannot get past.
Sure.
There are players on certain teams that I would never hire if I were an owner because of what you've been penalized for.
But that's what I'm saying. So if you serve your penalty and then you're like a worse baseball player, I'm just going to continue to point like, dude, you were never that good to begin with. It was all the substance. Okay. But if you afterwards, after you serve your suspension, are the guy again, what am I supposed to say? Like, you're a guy. I think Fernando Tatis is a guy. Like, I think he's one of the best players in the big leagues, bar none.
Right.
I think he's showing that again. He's got to do it for a full year and a couple of years, but like he's showing that, Chris.
And that's why I do need to answer this question. I think it's enormous because his lowest career OPS before the suspension was 937. That's freaking amazing. That is elite shit we're talking about. Last year, it dipped to 770. He went down 200 points from his last full season to last year in terms of OPS. He had a couple of top 4 MVP finishes. He finished third in his Rookie of the Year balloting. Last year, he was still a top 15 MVP, but a lot of that was because of his defense.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't discount that. Moving positions, being named the best fielder at any position in the National League, pretty damn impressive. But the rest of it was not good. Just not good enough. And so, yeah, he does need more moments like last night. He needs it, and it wouldn't surprise me if he gives it to him. I just don't think that they're going to be good enough collectively. I think he can keep the Padres in it, but I still think that they have some weaknesses.
They got some players. He's only 25 years old, too. You got to remember that.
Oh,
Seems like he's been in the game for a long time, but.
All right. There's a few other things we're keeping our eye on injury-wise in Major League Baseball. Framber Valdez pulled from his start last night. He's getting his elbow checked out. That is not good news. Trevor Story, the shoulder is not looking good. He's seeing Dr. Neil Elatrosh. We don't know if surgery. We don't know if he's done for the year. But those are a couple of stories we're obviously keeping our eye on. We're not glossing over them. We just don't have enough details really to talk about them extensively at this point. What we do have something to talk about is Elly De La Cruz, who last night got off the home run schneid, his first 2 big flies of the year. One was a literal big fly, as in 450 feet. The other did not go quite as far, but he did get a chance to show off his skill set.
Absolute bomb. First pitch, center field. Frelick was deep coming on. He slides, it gets by. De La Cruz can fly. He storms to second. Churio gathers edge of the track. Windmill is on. Relay to the plate. De La Cruz save!
Boy, did we have a couple of great calls last night between San Diego and Cincinnati. Thank you very much, guys, for making the sport so entertaining. I'm curious, because so far through his not even one full year in the major leagues, Elly De La Cruz has become more of a social media highlight than a complete ball player. How confident are you that he'll reach that level of completeness this year?
I want to see it for longer, Chris. He's 22 years old. He's had a hit in every single game except for one this year, so he's feeling really confident at the plate right now. With a guy that has a skill set like this and just the raw talent that he does, it's in my opinion, it's only a matter of time. It's a matter of seeing big league pitches, being at the big league level, and just doing that for a year. Or people used to say 1,500 at bats. That's when you know what a player really is. He's at 425. I don't know if I believe you have to have 1,500 to know what kind of player you are. My eye test with Elly is saying that he's still a little raw, but the talent to be a superstar is clearly there. So, I think he's surrounded by a lot of good players that motivate him as well. And I think the city of Cincinnati is starved for a good baseball team and like a winning baseball team. So all these factors I think are going to not rush his development, but enhance it. And again, 22 years old is a really young ball player, but I think we're going to see a mature, seasoned kind of ball player within the next couple of years from him, just because of all the factors that are going on around him. He's got the talent. He's going to have to. The reason I say that is, and it's kind of like a jumbled up answer, I'm sorry. He's going to have to focus, Chris. He's got too many good players around him, and the will to win is too good in Cincinnati. He's going to have to really put all of his focus. He's not on a team like the Rockies or a team like that where there are going to be times where he's not playing for anything. The Reds are going to be in it. And again, keep going back, his teammates are going to continuously make sure that he's doing what he needs to do at the big league level. So the sky's the limit for this guy, Chris.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him hard. Last night he did his first on-field post-game interview in English. And I know that we all saw that he talked about how important it was for him to be able to have the fans understand him. That is so mature for a kid that young to feel like, hey, I'm going to be a big part of what we're doing here. I want people to understand me, so I'm going to learn English to the best of my ability. So to me, that means that he's got a work ethic. Like that means you want to get better in something. I don't care whether it's baseball, learning a new language, whatever you do for a living, whatever hobby you have that is something that you're striving to excel at. That means that there is a passion for it. Getting outside of your comfort zone, willing to push yourself. I think that is literally a translatable skill. And so I am rooting hard for him. Now, one area he has got to get better is strike zone recognition. Last night was the first time this year, Plouffe, where he did not strike out in a game. In fact, in 6 of his first 9 games, he had multiple strikeouts.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. 17 on the year so far.
Yeah, it's the most on the team. So that's a category you don't want to lead your team in. So that's an area where he's got to get better. I do have a question for you. When you are that big, I imagine your swing can get out of whack. Is it a little bit like golf, where guys who are sometimes a little taller, there's so many moving parts and things of that nature, or does that not adhere to baseball?
I think that plays, Chris. I think, when you think about the tall guys in the game, it's very few guys have repeatable type stuff. Like Aaron Judge does a really good job repeating his mechanics, and I think that's why he's so special. But yeah, I think it is something to monitor with him. And, the strikeout stuff, he's got 3 walks, 17 strikeouts on the year. That's, again, something that comes with at bats. We just talked about he's got, less than 500 at bats in the big leagues. That's one of the last things to come for a ball player is usually plate discipline at the big league level. So, I think it's just a matter of time for him there. He's going to understand that once you understand as a player, like, you don't slug your way to a great OPS necessarily. Like, you have to get on base at the right clip. Like, and you have to understand that, like, you can't go after every single pitch, even if it's a strike. If it's a pitcher strike, learning to lay off of those and not thinking that you can get to every single pitch. That's a learned trait, because you're a star. You come up in a guy like that comes up and he's been able to do everything on the baseball field, but pitchers at this level can make you expand and hit their pitch. And you really have to understand you can give a strike away if it's not your strike. Like, you have to, that's a learned skill, and it just takes some time. He'll get there.
All right, we appreciate everybody joining us every Monday through Friday right here on Baseball Today, but we want to tell you about a new podcast and a video series that you're not going to want to miss as well. It is called The Deal. It is co-hosted by Yankees legend Alex Rodriguez. Every week, A-Rod and Bloomberg reporter Jason Kelly, they speak with big-time athletes and entertainers and executives. Derek Jeter was just on recently. Heard that was a very good episode. Maria Sharapova from the tennis world. Michael Strahan from every world. The Deal takes you behind the scenes into the world of sports, media, and entertainment, and dives into the wins and losses and lessons learned along the way. And A-Rod has had plenty of learning moments, right? Right out of high school, he was the number 1 overall pick in the draft, became a star out there in Seattle, jumped ship, became the richest player in baseball history, Texas, got traded to the New York Yankees, gets put under the microscope, ends up winning a ring with some up and down times, a lot of up times, but also some down times for him there in the Bronx. Eventually gets suspended from the sport, has to come back, becomes the face of the media game of baseball, all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of directions that A-Rod can take you. It is from Bloomberg Podcast and Bloomberg Originals. You can listen to The Deal on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts as well. So we wish him the best of luck. We continue on with Blake Snell, one of the last big free agents to sign. He made his San Francisco Giants debut, and hopefully he didn't blink because it didn't last long. 3 innings, 3 runs, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks on 72 pitches in a loss to the Washington Nationals. Your biggest takeaway was?
He looked rusty. It looked like a spring training start for him. He hasn't had a lot of time on a mound in real game-like situations. I mean, you can go on the backfields. You can face minor leaguers as much as you want, but once you step on the hill in a big league stadium, especially a new home park, new team, I mean, emotions are going to be flying. Like, you're going to be amped up, and that's what we saw. I mean, I think he ran like a 3-2 count to the first 5 hitters. Was that what it was?
Yes.
Which is crazy. I mean, you're going Giants fans, like, expect some of this from time to time. With Snell, he does, scatter the ball around the zone a little bit, but you're going to see a much sharper Blake as the season goes on. I think he topped out like a 97 last night, so the adrenaline was up. He showed plus stuff, obviously, but he just looked rusty, Chris, and I think that's definitely was to be expected. I know Giants fans are probably hoping for like this immaculate 5-inning start where he throws 75 pitches and gives up no hits, but like realistically, with a guy like Blake Snell, like you had to imagine there was going to be a few walks, the pitch count was going to get up there. But I do believe, in his next start, he'll be much better. This was a big start for a lot of different reasons. Like I mentioned, Chris, I mean, think about that. He's in a brand new park, brand new team, hasn't pitched a freaking game since last year. You kind of had to expect this.
Yeah. What was he doing? He was throwing like not even sim games. He was, he had nothing. He didn't see a guy in another uniform until last night in the batter's box. Yeah. So you have to cut him some slack. But Blake Snell, as I think I tweeted it last night, that he can be incredibly joyful and maddening to watch or something like that. There's so many pitches, so many deep counts. Like, just freaking get a ground ball on and pitch number 2 of it at bat at somebody. Just mix one in for me at some point. That part is tough to stomach. And that's why I felt like Blake Snell was a really tough contract to predict. Just because, the guy won the Cy Young last year, but he also had almost 100 walks during the season. He led Major League Baseball in that. I went back and looked at his game log last year. He did not record an out in the 6th inning until May last year. He went his first 5 starts without recording an out in the 6th inning. That was with a full spring training and rearing to go. So I'll see you in June in the 6th inning, I guess.
I'm curious to see if working with a guy like Webb and just being around him and knowing that he wants to go as deep as possible in the games and he does elicit contact early in counts. Like, I wonder if that's going to rub off on Snell a little bit and they can kind of actually pick each other's brains. I think Logan Webb could use some of what Snell's got and Snell could use some of what Logan Webb's got. I know he's very happy with the coaching staff and is very comfortable there. He loves the team. I talked to him at Dodger Stadium when I went down there. He feels like this is a good fit. And I said, hey, man, like, did you find a home here? Because that's kind of how I feel. And he goes, so far, so good, dude. Like, yeah, obviously he's got to play there and see how it goes. But it wouldn't surprise me if we saw, by the end of the year, Chris, a little bit different Blake Snell in the way he approaches pitching.
Yeah, I think it would be good because his shit is so good. Like, when he is on, he's freaking so much fun to watch, but he can be maddening. And he's not even a member of my team. I can only imagine how Giants fans felt last night watching him because it is frustrating at times.
Do you know Pat Burrell's the hitting coach there? I did not know that until I saw him. I was like, that's Pat Burrell. And I've heard a lot of stories about Pat the Bat.
Oh yeah. I have one that's dancing around the internet still to this day. It's not good.
Okay.
Where is it? It involves this guy. Y'all can find it yourself.
Oh, is he the one that's in the you know what?
Just saying.
That's
Got to
awesome.
move on. I don't have time. All right, more amazing sight in right field on Monday. Yordan Alvarez hitting yet another one. He is on a home run tear. Somehow they said this one only went 431 feet. Once again, I think, that's some bullshit. At some point, people are just stop counting, I guess, and they get disinterested. Or Juan Soto, who hit his first Yankee Stadium home run with pinstripes on, during an at-bat against the Marlins, goes and signs a baseball for a fan.
I love Yordan. I'm going to go with Soto on this one. And I wanted to hate this so bad, Chris. I wanted to be like, what are you doing, man? You got to focus on the game. What's going on? But it was just kind of too cool. And like, if I'm a guy in the stands and Juan Soto's walking over to me and gives an autograph during the bat, what a story. But for the rest of your life, you get to tell that story. He didn't miss the pitch, which I think is the biggest thing. And then, you have to remember, he's playing right field there. Do you guys know what goes on in right field at Yankee Stadium? Those guys are ruthless, so you need to endear yourself to them. Clearly, he's going to already because he's a all-time hitter and they love having him there. But little stuff like this goes so far with fans, especially those bleacher creatures, man. He's already doing all the right things there. So as much as I wanted to hate on Juan Soto for he didn't really take a pitch off, but I would say it's a little frowned upon.
Basically.
I mean, he saw the pitch.
Well, let's call it what it is.
I like it. I mean, I think if there's anyone that can get away with it, it's Juan Soto.
I would agree with that. And some people say it's disrespectful to the game. I'll listen to that argument. Like, yeah, you don't want to fuck it up because if you're out of position and somebody rips one down the line, and then there are some people who say, well, they were playing the Marlins, so they were good anyway. And that the Marlins don't deserve it anyway. You can turn your back and you'll be good. I don't know. It was a little weird because you do have time. Like, if you want to go do that while you're warming up in between innings, you have time to go do that.
Yeah, how many seconds did he have to do it? 18?
I don't know. At first, I was like, what the hell is he doing? What? But yeah, like with Soto, he's so nonchalant and incredible at so many things. You're just like, yeah.
He kind of had no choice when the guy throws the ball like that. What's he supposed to do? Just tosses it up to him. You got to catch it and sign it real quick. Look, he got back. Look, watch. He gets back for the pitch.
Yeah. And that's with a pitch clock, too. One time I'm going to ask you about Yordan Alvarez. And my question will be, is he the best hitter in the sport?
I think he might be, Chris. I've said that on this show before. Like I don't remember when it was exactly. I think it was when I was still doing sequence, and I was just watching his at bats, and I was like, this guy he's like Joe Mauer with fucking power, dude. Like, he never gets fooled at the plate. If you do get him once, you're not going to get him the same way twice. Like, he is so good at getting the barrel on the ball on all sorts of pitches. He's got power to all sorts of fields. And I love Cuban ball players. Like, I think he is my favorite hitter to watch in the game.
Mm-hmm. And he has no splits. I mean, there's no difference between the splits, is what I should say. Like,
those like
tough lefty out there, go for it.
Yeah. Those silly questions like, if you had one guy to put at the plate and your life depended on it to get hit, I'm choosing Yordan Alvarez.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's not going to get fooled.
Those silly questions.
What's let's guess. What's his walk to strikeout ratio in his career? I have no idea. I'm just looking it up right now.
I would say it's 1-to-1.
That's really good. Let's see.
I would say it's actually probably like 0.83 walks per strikeout. That's what I'm going to guess.
Okay, it's not as good as we think. 254 walks to 445 strikeouts.
Oh, no, it's not.
Okay.
No.
Doesn't seem like that to me. I mean, I feel like this guy's got such a great eye and so patient at the plate. Yeah, okay.
But he has
978 career OPS, Chris. 978 career OPS.
That's sickening. He hasn't struck out close to 100 times in a season, has he?
Oh, he struck out 145 times in 2021 and 106 times. Yeah, he's always right around 100.
Ah.
But he's had 3 seasons with an on-base percentage over 400, so he makes up for it.
All right, the Red Sox, who finally play their home opener on Tuesday. I think they're the last team to finally play in front of their home crowd. They have reportedly extended Cedar Rafaela, giving the 23-year-old an 8-year, $50 million deal. Dude's got less than 40 big league games on the resume. Does it shock you this is now the way that Boston is doing business?
It doesn't shock me. They really haven't done this in their past. When I think about Red Sox and who they're signing, I think about some homegrown guys, but I also think about big-time free agent signings there. Not necessarily a lot of guys like this. I know Bayo just did it. Now Cedar just did it. And I think what's really happening is they're looking around the league and seeing, who are the best run franchises? What are they doing? And if you look at the Braves and what they've done, they've put themselves in such a great position. When you cost control players and you understand, this is what, this is what our budget's going to be, and this is what we can spend. When you get these guys and you hit on them, there's some guys that you don't hit on, but if you hit on some of these guys, the money that you save over the time of that contract, allows you to make other moves and and better your ball club. So if you're a club and you identify a player as someone that's, not only going to be, doesn't even have to be like a superstar, but if you say this guy is going to be, I think you have to try to lock him up, and especially at this point in their career where you can kind of quote unquote get him at a discount. Guys will take a lesser deal, like an Ozzy Albies type deal, if you do it early enough in their career. Once they have a full year of success or 2 full years of success, they start wanting to bet on themselves. But these teams that are going after these guys first year, like Jackson Chourio, sure seems like he's going to be a hell of a player for quite some time. Say Don in center field, has the potential to be a platinum glove winner and hit for a little bit of pop, and the Red Sox are identifying that. So I think it's a smart move. I think more teams should be offering these deals, in my opinion.
This is the way you should do it. What surprises me is that more teams haven't hopped on this train. I don't care whether you're in the highest tax bracket, walking around in baseball life, or one of these teams that is just trying to piece his squad together. This is the way to go about it. I think it's smart. I don't know how good a ball player he's going to end up being. He is a top 5 prospect for them. So that's, to me, the thing that surprises me more about the Red Sox financially is that next year they only have 4 guys that are guaranteed to make more than $5.5 million. That's Devers, Yoshida, Story, and Giolito, assuming he picks up the player side of things, which I'm sure he will.
Didn't Whitlock get locked up, but not more than $5 million?
Not more than that. That's the thing. Yeah. So to me, that's the most surprising thing about the Red Sox is that's the way they're doing business. Not that this is smart. I wish more teams in the middle of the country start doing stuff like this.
8 years, 50 M's. I mean,
pretty good for 23.
It's good for both sides.
Our oldest son's 23. He might be making $850, but it's not 8 years, 50 mil. But I'm still proud of him, and should be. All right, before we get out of here, we did have the total eclipse pass through my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio on Monday. There was a little break in the action. They made sure there was no batting practice going on, so all the players are out there wearing their shades and looking arm in arm. It was kind of a cute little thing. Total eclipse, overrated, or were you kind of on board?
I think it's cool, Chris. I experienced one on the beach one time. It's like such an eerie type of situation going on. I always go back to the Aztec or the Mayans and the rituals they would do. Have you ever seen that movie Apocalypto? That's kind of what my mind goes to. I think nowadays we're so spoiled. We see everything on the internet. I'm not surprised or shocked by anything anymore because I've seen it all on the internet. So can you imagine though, being Aztec or a Mayan and all of a sudden this happens? What do you think? It's the craziest thing ever, dude.
Yeah, you think the world's ending.
You think something's going on. You got to do something chop someone's head off and throw it down some stairs.
Okay, yeah, we're not doing that. Let's keep it clean here. This is a clean.
That's what happened. Okay. I watched the movie.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. God almighty, we got you off on I shouldn't have asked that question. That's my fault for asking the question.
What, do you like them?
Do I like it? Yeah, I was taping football today with Pennick and Skinner at the time, so I kind of missed it. And my brothers and my nephew, who lives in Cleveland, Ohio, were all texting about how cool this is and the coverage is great. And I was like, oh, shit. Wrong time to schedule a football podcast, but that's all right.
Last question. And just what's cooler, a nice full rainbow or an eclipse?
Well, that eclipse hadn't passed through Cleveland in 218 years. I see a few rainbows a year. So
I got going for the rarity score here. You're not saying, I'm just asking which one do you think is a cooler thing? I
will say this. I am at some serious peace when I see a rainbow. You're right about that.
Imagine that being the first person to see a rainbow. What the fuck are you thinking then?
I start singing from the Muppet movie, Rainbow Connection. Just like Kermit the Frog. Why are there so many songs about rainbows? You don't know that song?
It rings a bell in my head, but I just love your voices.
That crosses
your voices.
That crosses generations. Yeah, I do a bunch of Muppets, so I can do that too. I had a lot of time as a kid. Nobody would talk to me. All right, we are back at it again tomorrow. I think we're going to go again at noon Eastern, right? Because it's a Wednesday.
Yes.
All right, we're going to go at noon Eastern. And once again, go get your tickets for the live event, Boomtown Brewery in Los Angeles, shop.johnboymedia.com. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, and the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, who's going to be cutting off heads in a neighborhood near you, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Wednesday here on Baseball Today.